The Honorable Zaldy ko.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Nakita po natin kahapon ang part 1 ng video message ni Vice President Sara Duterte kung saan nililihis na naman niya ang mga issue. Talaga pong tatak Duterte na yata ang pambubudol. Mula sa peking war on drugs, peking good governance, peking pagkontra sa korupsyon, at ngayon, peking sagot sa mga issue. Una, simpleng tao lang daw siya, pero mahigit 400 bodyguards. Siya lang po ang kaisa-isang Vice President sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas na may ganun kadaming security. May sarili pang Vice Presidential Security Group. Never happened in the history of the Philippines. Nag-iisa nga siyang humarap sa pagdinig ng Committee on Appropriations, pero sangkaterba naman ang bodyguard sa labas ng conference room. Humiling pa ng pagkain para sa 100 gwardiya na dala-dala niya at hindi naman kinain. Hindi po ba't pang-iinsulto at pag-aaksaya ito ng resources ng gobyerno? Pangalawa, sinasabi niya, hindi lang daw sanay ang ilang miyembro ng Kongreso na hindi makuha ang sagot na gusto nila. Karapatan at trabaho ng Kongreso ang pagbubusisi ng budget. Ang hindi niya pagsagot sa maayos na tanong at lalo pa ang hindi niya pagdalo sa hearing ngayon ay nagpapakita na kawalang respeto at paggalang sa mga kinatawan ng taong bayan. Hindi lang po kongresista ang winalanghiyan niya dito, kung hindi ang buong sambayanang Pilipinas. Tinatakpan niya ang hindi pagsagot sa tanong sa pamamagitan ng pag-iinsulto sa mga kongresista na ginawa lang naman ng kanilang mga trabaho. Gusto nila ang interbranch courtesy, pero siya mismo walang kortesiya sa Kongreso. Pangatlo, malinaw na pambubudol o panlilinlang sa mga Pilipino ang pagsasabi niyang kinikilala niya ang kapangyarihan ng Kongreso sa budget. Malinaw naman sa tao, live sa TV at internet, kung ano ang kanyang asal. Wala siyang sinagot ni isa man lang na tanong ng mga kongresista. Abogado pa naman siya, pero mukhang absent siya nung tinuro ang prinsipyo ng separation of powers at Kongreso bilang co-equal, kapantay ng sangay ng gobyerno ng ehekutibo. Batay sa ating representative democracy, ang mga kongresista ay binoto bilang kinatawan ng taong bayan. Kaya kapag ang isang kongresista ay nagtatanong sa paggamit ng budget, siya ay nagtatanong hindi lang bilang individual, kundi bilang kinatawan ng Pilipinong bumoto sa kanya. Demokrasya at hindi po tayo monarkiya. Wala tayong hari at reyna. Sunset na po ang dating administrasyon. Kaya wala pong karapatan ang ating mga halal na opisyal na umastang parang masasakupan niya lang ang mga kinatawang ng taong bayan. Pang-apat, paulit-ulit niyang sinasabi, I will defer to the wisdom of Congress. Pero hindi naman po ito totoo. Kasi kung totoo ito, sasagutin niya mga tanong ng mga mambabatas, lalo na sa issue ng confidential funds. Naalala ko last year, kinausap namin si BP Sara at ang kanyang mga trusted aides tungkol sa 2024 budget. Sinabi niya noong, ituloy niyo yan, meaning yung confidential funds, dahil kaya niya daw ito i-justify. Mabuti na lang at hindi namin itinuloy. Kung hindi, magsisisi kami dahil ang pondo ng taong bayan ang pinag-uusapan dito at tandaan, COA at hindi Kongreso ang nagsasabing mali ang paggamit ng 73 million sa 125 million confidential funds na ginamit lang sa loob ng 11 days. Talo pa po dito ang pondo ng Napoles Fund na gamit ng 60 days. Ito po, 11 days lang. And ngayon, bibigyan pa ba natin siya ng 2 billion na panggagastos daw sa mahihirap? Ibigay po natin to sa tamang ahensya. Huwag po nating ayahan na waldasin na naman ang kahit pisong sintimo na dapat natin bantayan. Politika daw ang dahilan ng umano'y panggigipit sa kanya ng Kongreso. Nanunood kaya siya ng budget hearings? Nakikita niya kaya kung gaano kahaba at katagal ang pandinig at mga questions and answers na kinakaharap ng iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan para i-justify ang kanilang budget? Why should the OBP be any different? Especially napakagaling magwaldas, maglakwatsa at mangurakot. Malinaw, diversionary tactic ang video message ni VP Sara. Tulad ng tatay niya, gusto niyang ilihis ang usapin sa tunay ng isyong kinakaharap niya. Ayaw niya kasing magpaliwanag. 125 million confidential funds spent in 11 days at nagsabi mismo ang COA na mali ang paggastos nito. Kung bakit kulelat ang mga batang Pilipino sa math and science sa ilalim ng panunungkulan niya bilang DepEd Secretary. Kung bakit sirang gatas, may insekto at inaamag na Nutriban ang pinamimigay sa mga mag-aaral. Kung bakit malala ang korupsyon sa DepEd at palpak ang kanyang panunungkulan dahil tamad at hindi siya pumapasok kahit minsan sa Department of Education. At higit sa lahat, kung bakit sa gitna ng lahat na kapalpakan at katiwalian, ito ay dapat siyang pagkatiwalaan pa ng 2 billion sa 2025.
Briefing suspended. Hearing is hereby resumed. Okay, so the chair now recognizes the Honorable Zia Adyong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Madam Chair, if there's anyone in this room that is most unhappy, discouraged, or saddened by the non-attendance of our Vice President, it would be me, Madam Chair, because I'll be the one to sponsor the budget of the Office of the Vice President in the plenary. I remember, Madam Chair, 2 years ago, when I was watching the Senior Vice Chair also doing the same thing, sponsoring the budget, I told myself, even if they forced me to take on that kind of job, I would not. And look at what happened. Now I do believe that karma is real. Madam Chair, at the start of the proceeding, since last week, from the moment I was assigned this budget that I would sponsor the Office of the Vice President, I decided, Madam Chair, to sit down, listen, and just understand where the members of this committee are coming from. Basically, I want to listen to both the members and as well as the position of the proponent, in this case, the Vice President herself. I decided, Madam Chair, to keep my peace all this time because I believe that through the exchanges of the members with the responses of the Vice President, I would be able to equip with the information, the data that I need, equip me with all the necessary information and updates and inputs for me to be able to sponsor and perhaps defend and to some extent convince the 300 plus members of this House that the budget of the Office of the Vice President, as proposed by under the NEP, is valid, legitimate, and rightly so. So, Madam Chair, as we witnessed in the first committee deliberation, I felt that there's really a need for this committee to invite again the Vice President. In fact, I took the liberty, Madam Chair, of approaching the Vice President last week, immediately after the Senior Vice Chair suspended the deliberation, and after learning that there was no enough information that I gathered from the responses of our Vice President, I approached her while she was exiting the building and politely requested that, if possible, baka po pwede mag-usap ang aming opisina. And I asked her politely and courteous and with respect. And as a matter, just to be fair, she was polite and courteous when she responded. And up to now, Madam Chair, I'm still waiting for that meeting. Mr. Chair, I came from a culture that is steeped in tradition. I came from a minority Muslim community where tradition to us is not just convenience. It is a way of life. I agree, Madam Chair, that time-honored tradition of this honorable institution has a sanctity to it. However, Madam Chair, we must also remember that that tradition is born from a courtesy, from either parliamentary courtesy or inter-branch courtesy. Courtesy, Madam Chair, is given as a privilege. And as such, privilege is not given freely. It is earned. Privilege, Madam Chair, is both circumstantial and conditional, Madam Chair. But what I believe as a neophyte member of this House, what I believe, Madam Chair, is the primordial concern and duty of each and every one of us is to be truthful to the oath that we have taken and to be truthful to the duty that we have sworn to preserve, protect, exercise to the best of our ability without fear or favor. So, Madam Chair, I hope as a neophyte member of this House, I hope that we can probably proceed with this deliberation, although I am deeply saddened and feeling helpless in the coming days once the committee report will be delivered in the plenary, because I'll be the one again to sponsor and defend the budget of the Office of the President. Madam Chair, before this manifestation, before the Senior Vice Chair recognized this representation to say my piece, I was listening intently to our Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, Representative Zaldy ko. And I also happened to watch a clip of that video the interview of the Vice President, and she said in that interview that part of the reasons why she did not respond to the questions asked by the members is that in her mind, only two persons actually decides the budget. Speaker and the chairman of the committee. Just to set the record straight, and this is not to side to either of the two. Madam Chair, it is unfair, to say the least, and misplaced, if you would ask me. That's a misplaced argument to put it that way, because we know that the budget is prepared by the executive branch. Before it lands on our doorstep, the executive in each agency proposes their budget to the DBCC, and thereafter they would have to defend that. And all the budgets that have been approved, many of the agencies' initial budget are not in toto reflected in the NEP that is being submitted to us, is defended by these agencies. So in terms of preparation, no member of this House is involved in the determination of the funds. When it comes to this House, it is already prepared, and it is decided by the majority of the members of the appropriation. To assign such power to two single persons is, to me, is unimaginable and unreal. This House, since 1907, according to Congressman Paulo, who is also a fellow neophyte, we always value the very simple truth in exercising the powers of the state through legislation, and that is majority decides, because that is the very basic definition of a democracy. In this case, in the budget preparation, nobody was involved. Members of this House, nobody was involved. And once it reaches this this honored institution, no person can decide on its own on how do we go about with the budget. It is the decision of the majority. It is the decision of the majority members of this House as a way of observing the very basic democratic principle. So again, Madam Chair, I hope you would wish me good luck, and I hope we can carry this over to the plenary. Maraming salamat po.